Keeping you up to date on the arts in Kansas City is what we do here, but sometimes that can mean pulling something from the past as well.
In 2013, KCPT previewed the Sterling Dance Theater's annual production of an original work about the Underground Railroad.
On February 12th and 13th, the company, which has its headquarters at the Culture House in Olathe, will again perform Underground at the Kaufman Center.
Here's a quick primer on a piece that's as timely now as ever.
Underground is a historically accurate portrayal in dance theater of what happened in the Underground Railroad. When you read about it, there's so many stories connected to it, and we want to tell the story as richly and accurately as possible. And one of the things that I've read repeatedly is that there was no leader to the Underground Railroad, but actually it sprung up in churches all over. And so there are really unique scenes in churches in the show.
I was very serious about doing a lot of research, and it was very interesting and fascinating. I thought, wow, like, why doesn't everybody talk about this? What an amazing story about how simple people rose up to do something great.
I love working with Mona and Jeremiah. When they approached me about doing this show, it was hard, but I just said, I will do everything I can to help you tell this story and to give you the insight being a person of color. In the performance, I feel that I'm telling the story for someone else. Someone went through a lot of difficulty and survived it so that I could be here, having the life that I have.
Dance theater is really a dance production that is meant to tell a story. It's more accessible to the normal person. You don't have to be a dance expert. You can use all kinds of physical movement, even language, even the voice if you need to. We're very fortunate that the company that we have is very skilled in dance, both in ballet and in modern.
I love trying to find different ways of using the props or the dancers or whatever it is. Sometimes, when you ask people, hey, what about run up this bench? Let's see what happens, And then when they do, they might be like, you're a crazy woman. Then when you see it, it's like, it just gives you more and more ideas.
I trust her. I trust what if she says we're doing benches, it's benches. If it's fabric, it's fabric. If it's fabric that's going to be a river, okay, we'll have a river.
To tell a story like this, of this importance and magnitude, I don't think you could tell it, without putting your heart into it and your whole self.
The show is really telling American history in a passionate and truthful and honest way, and in a way that hopefully will move you and help you remember the good things that we learned from a very tragic time.
We're at the